Hey guys, welcome back to our study of the Great Society. We are now entering section 4 and the final section of our unit on the Great Society. This section is all about the Warren Court. We're going to go over some past decisions of the Warren Court. This is the same Chief Justice Warren that made led the investigation of the Kennedy assassination and came up with the results that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. But then moving forward in the Great Society, looking at a different aspect of some decisions of the Warren Court is what this section is all about. So let's go ahead and get started. First, Kennedy and Johnson were seen as liberals because of all the changes that they were making, helping out the, I guess what we would call the minority, not only in civil rights but also in economic issues. And that's typically seen as a liberal movement. There was a lot of liberal movement throughout the 1960s, and some of that includes the 1954 decision on Brown versus the Board of Education in Topeka, Kansas, a great decision to integrate the schools. 1960, liberals, the liberal court banning prayer in schools, still argued today whether or not we should have prayer in schools. So again, that's a liberal movement versus a conservative movement. Limiting the power of communities to censor books and films. Again, a lot of people would say that's positive because of the power of free speech. Along the same lines, free speech, they decided or ruled, this court ruled that free speech did include the wearing of black armbands during Vietnam by students who were opposed to war. That's their free speech, that's their right to do so. So again, a lot of liberal decisions. One major aspect of this court is the power that they have taken upon themselves to force states and congressional districts to reapportion themselves. Reapportion, you can see a definition here, redrawing the district lines so as to balance out the population. Here we see a map of Missouri, and you can see where we live. We are in the 7th district in the state. So when elections come up, we'll see political campaigns, posters, advertisements about the 7th district representative. That's the person who's representing us here in our area of the state. In a court case known as Baker versus Carr, they established this power of the federal government or the federal courts, I should say, to dictate states to reapportion or divide for more equal representation. So if you look back at our state, these heavy black lines are lines that have been dictated based on population, trying to balance out the population of the state, so for equal representation, so that we have the representatives of our state representing an equal number of people based on the population of our state. That was the Baker versus Carr decision that allowed the federal courts to dictate that at the federal level. Then we have Reynolds versus Sims, a court case along the same lines, except now it dictates state representation, not federal representation, state representation in the state legislative houses. What the Warren Court is most known for, though, is the issue on the rights of the accused. A lot of decisions made by this court and by Chief Justice Warren on how suspects accused of crimes are handled, are dealt with, and the rights that they have as criminals. In the first case, Mapp versus Ohio, the Warren Court ruled that evidence seized illegally cannot be used in state court. It's known as the exclusionary rules. Excuse me. So basically, police investigators, they have to get a ruling, or what's that thing called? It's called a search warrant, and most of the time it has to be signed by a judge in bigger cases. If it's like a murder investigation, if the police want to search the house, they have to get a search warrant, unless the homeowner gives them permission to search the house, and then a search warrant is not necessary. Moving on to the next court case, Gideon versus Wainwright. This time the court decides that criminal courts must provide legal counsel to those who can afford it, who cannot afford it. If you watch any kind of police shows or the episodes, you might hear the police officer or the actor telling the criminal they have the right to an attorney if they cannot afford one. Escobedo versus Illinois. The court ruled that an accused person has a right to a lawyer present during police questioning. A lot of times, again, in these police shows, you'll see the accused suspect saying, "I don't want to talk, I want my lawyer." So again, that's in the Escobedo versus Illinois court case. The criminal has a right to a presence of a lawyer. And then finally, the big one, Miranda versus Arizona. Court ruled that all suspects must be read their rights before questioning. So let's take a look at the Miranda rights. If you are arrested, accused of a crime, these rights must be read to you. And again, referring back to these police shows, you'll recognize some of these things that the actors use when arresting the criminal suspect. Number one, you have the right to remain silent. That's taken directly from the Fifth Amendment. The right to not self-incriminate. You cannot be forced to incriminate yourself by talking or by giving evidence that might make you look guilty. Number two, anything you say can be used as evidence against you, again from the Fifth Amendment. You have the right to consult with an attorney before questioning and have him with you during questioning. That's from the Escobedo case. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed to you to represent you free of charge. That's from the Gideon case. And then knowing these rights, do you want to talk to me without having a lawyer present? That's just a question that the suspect will answer. It's modified a little bit based on the police officer, based on a police show that you watch, but all those rights have to be read to the accused upon arrest. If they are not, then essentially that criminal, or that accused suspect, I should say, can be released because they haven't been read their rights. Violation of criminal rights. So these rulings greatly divide public opinion. On one side, we have the liberals who support these decisions because they say that police power has been exaggerated and police are taking too much power and they need to be limited. On the other side, we have the conservatives who say that these rulings are putting handcuffs, if you will, on the police investigation. You're giving too much power to the criminal and taking a power away from the police to keep the public safe. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Warren Court and what it's known for. Thanks.